Conference. But how about Wemby and the Spurs over the weekend? They marched into Madison Square Garden after putting together a perfect February. Let's go to Madison Square Garden now.
It's my favorite Spurs in the place.
Bless you. Oh my goodness.
You are tall, sugar. That was the welcome that Wemby got in Madison Square Garden, and this is the welcome he gave back. An exclamation mark. Wemby imposing his will early there with the slam. And then a minute left in the first quarter here. Jalen Brunson, look at him. He baits Dylan Harper into jumping. He can't jump. He gets the shot to go plus the foul. Brunson putting in work on the rookie. And then the next Knicks possession, Brunson pulls, bottoms on the three. The Brunson burner officially firing. Early in the second quarter here, Harrison Barnes tries to pass it to De'Aaron Fox. Mikal Bridges, he was excellent in this game. Goes coast to coast with a layup, getting active on the defensive end. And then 2 minutes left in the third quarter here. Watch Wemby. Puts a little pump fake action on Mitchell Robinson.
How many steps, though?
Over OG. 1, 2, and a smidge. Over OG Anunoby.
No, just his steps are so long.
7 minutes left now. We go ahead to the fourth quarter here. This is when really the Knicks rather are in control. Mikal Bridges
that
goes
guy
the
again.
other way. There he goes. That
5 steals.
Under 5 minutes left in the fourth. De'Aaron Fox's pass picked off again by Mikal Bridges. Landry Shamet is the one who slams it down. Gosh, Shamet. You got that one to go. You got me with that. I'll make the Spurs. Here's Victor Wembanyama on the physical play.
I think they did put some physicality, but not even the most that we've seen, you know. And for some reason, we were somewhat hesitant. I think it was in general a team thing. They're a good basketball team. They got good actual basketball players, you know. They're not like the nastiest ugly team, you know. They're not an ugly team to watch, but they made our game ugly.
Well, it was a little bit, I won't say ugly. Should we just say offensive struggle for the Spurs, who scored a season-low 89 points, takes one to no one, committed a season-high 22 turnovers. This was just San Antonio's third time all season failing to score 100 points. Only OKC and Denver have done so fewer times. But, Tim, you were quick to say that they're coming off a perfect 11-0 February, right?
Yeah, listen, we're not going to sweat one loss for the Spurs after an undefeated month. And they beat the Thunder 4 times. They just beat Detroit in Detroit. They can handle physical play. They did not do it yesterday against the Knicks, so give the Knicks some credit here.
It exposed one thing, Brian, though, that you think could be just a larger thing to focus on here for San Antonio. What is that?
Yeah, I hate to keep coming back to this, but they are 20th in the league in three-point shooting. I will say a few weeks ago it was like 24th, 25th. And when they beat Detroit last week, one of the big factors in that game was their excellent three-point shooting. In this game, they were terrible. They were 9 of 35 or something like that. And, you know, when you're already having a tough offensive night, when you're relying on those threes, it's going to be an issue. They have improved. I'm just saying, when we get to the postseason, the teams that, when they set up their game plans against San Antonio, they're going to try to get them to shoot threes.
Right.
And that is going to be a trap. And either they're going to overcome that or it's going to end up being something they fall into. That's going to be one of the things we're going to be watching. They fell into that trap, settling for threes on a Sunday afternoon in Garden.
Sometimes those games happen, but credit to the Knicks, as you mentioned, Tim. They've been the #1 ranked defense over the last 6 weeks, Ramona. What stood out to you from this one?
Look, I think Karl-Anthony Towns, I mean, he's not going to win any Defensive Player of the Year awards, right? But he did a decent job on Wemby in the same way that he did against Joker when he was back in Minnesota and they played in that playoff series. I thought he contained him. He made it so that he wasn't this dominant force. And you saw him, look, he's working. He's making a tough shot right there. I thought Karl Towns' defense in this game, we can talk about Mikal Bridges, 25 points, 5 threes, 5 steals, 5 rebounds, almost worth those 5 first-round picks. But Karl Towns' defense, you got to give him credit. If you're gonna poke fun at him for his bad games, you got to give him flowers for good games.
And look, there have been times this season where the Knicks' toughness has come into question. This was a tough win. You just saw the numbers they've been putting up defensively, you know, over the, what is that? That's almost a quarter of the season. So the Knicks, I'm sure they heard the critic. And by the way, the criticism was coming from inside, too, from their own coaching staff. And that's the kind of style they're going to have to play come playoff time to be a real threat in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, for the New York Knicks, it's sort of been the season. They win a couple good ones, they lose a couple they shouldn't. Yeah. They've been a little bit up and down. And so if we're going to criticize the Knicks when they don't get the job done that's in front of them, when they do against a very real team that we've talked about whether or not they're a contender in the Western Conference, this is the version of the New York Knicks that all Spike Lee, Stephen A., this is exactly what they want to be seeing. Hey, we got a lot to...
The Knicks got a big dub on Sunday, snapping the Spurs' 11-game win streak. New York's stifling defense was put on display, holding San Antonio to a season-low 89 points. But did yesterday's game say more about the Knicks or the Spurs? It's First Take's Last Take.
I think it says a lot about the New York Knicks. I think this is the most complete game offensively and defensively that I've seen this team play in quite a long time. It shows me that on a given day, the Knicks' best game is as good as anybody's best game in the NBA.
This is what happens with the Knicks. You go, they're a top 2, 3, 5, 7, 1. It depends on the day. This Eastern Conference is flawed, guys. And the Knicks, when they're at the top of their game, as they showed yesterday, can beat anybody.
I think that if you're a New York Knicks fan, you should be looking at the Eastern Conference. Yeah, it's tough. And yeah, you're going to be in a fight. But there's one team that stands above the Knicks with their foot on their necks. My issue with the Knicks is about the Detroit Pistons. To me, they are the best team in the Eastern Conference who have a personal axe to grind against the New York Knicks. And they treat their competition against the New York Knicks like that. Punching them in the face and then saying what you gonna do about it. And the New York Knicks have said, nothing. Nah, you gotta answer. So it's nice to see them win yesterday. And it's gonna be nice to see them make amends and beat Cleveland. And Jalen Brown and Boston is coming and Jason Tatum might come back. All right, fine. But you can't have somebody rolling up on you and just treating you like you nothing. And you do nothing about that. That is unacceptable in the game of basketball. Unacceptable.
Not only are the Pistons 3-0 against the Knicks this year, they have blown them out in all 3 meetings. Detroit has an average point differential of plus 28 versus the Knicks and have dropped 115 points or more in all. News here on SportsCenter. Giannis Antetokounmpo is expected to return for the Bucks tonight against the Celtics after missing over 5 weeks with a right calf strain, sources told ESPN's Shams Charania. Giannis is averaging 28 and 10 this season for a Milwaukee team that is currently 3 games outside of the play-in in the East. Sports betting analyst Joe Fortenbaugh here with me right now. And Joe, with the news of Giannis returning, how are you betting this Bucks-Celtics game later on?
I am always a big fan of fading. That means to bet against. Fading teams that have a star player coming back from a lengthy absence. There's a big effect to the point spread, and then on top of it, the team could be out of sync. So we're going to play the Celtics here minus the 2.5. Let's start with the point spread. Was 7.5. Then the news that Giannis is in drops it all the way to 2.5. Now we want to talk about the team being out of sync. Milwaukee quietly has figured it out on offense. Since February 3rd, they've played 12 games. During that stretch, they are number 9 in the NBA in offensive efficiency. They've been playing really well. Now, that's not to say Giannis is going to ultimately be worse off for them coming back, but that first game back, limited minutes, you're a little bit out of sync. You're playing a Boston team that's 10-3 against the number over their last 13, and on top of that, 6th in defensive efficiency. We like the Celtics tonight.
Yeah, it might take a little bit for Giannis to get his footing, but I feel like a double-double anyway. He could just wake up.
Casually.
Yeah, casually. Double-double.
You know, lose by 3 or more.
No worries. Joe Fortenbaugh with the latest, hanging out with us for just a little bit more. Thanks.
There's a reason Fortenbaugh is so familiar with what fading is. In the NBA, we're in the stretch run. The Western Conference standings going to be fun to watch after the T-Wolves beat the Nuggets yesterday, 117-108. Minnesota leaped Denver for the 4 seed. First time Minnesota has beaten Denver in 4 tries this season, sweeping its 3-game road trip. Tim McMahon now with us. Nikola Jokic, the Nuggets 5-8 since the former MVP has returned to the lineup. So Timmy Mack, what's the deal with him? What's his status? How's he looking?
Well, I asked Joker the other night in OKC how he was feeling physically. Very quickly, he said, really good, and he did not elaborate. I don't speak Serbian, but I believe that translates to I don't want to talk about it. And he missed a month because of that knee, but I am told by people with the Nuggets that the bigger concern is actually his shooting wrist, and this is something that he's dealt with on and off for the last few years. Some days he wakes up and it feels fine. Some days it is extremely stiff. You know, you've seen him shoot less than 50% from the floor 6 times in the last 12 games. That is shocking for a player who is as historically efficient as Joker. So that wrist is definitely something that is a concern for the Nuggets, whether Joker wants to admit it or not.
Yeah, 5-8 is a bit of a surprising record as well. You'd think it'd be the other way around, 8-5, maybe at worst, with a player of his caliber coming back to the lineup. But speaking of coming back to the lineup, player of MVP caliber, Steph Curry, 10 games missed. What's his status?
Well, it's going to be at least another week and a half, the Warriors announced, and that knee just isn't responding the way that they're hoping. Obviously, they'd love to get Steph back on the court ASAP, but more than a sense of urgency, there's an understanding that he has to be healthy. Forget playoff time, come play-in time if there's going to be playoffs for the Warriors. And they do have a little bit of gap in terms of they're unlikely for them to move up from that 8th spot. There is a gap of the teams beneath him, but again, if Steph's not completely right come play-in time, then you're looking at a lottery team with the Warriors, and they understand that.
I mean, and the line is that slim, Timmy Mack. You know that. Like, it brings Steph back. Who knows? Don't have him. They may not make it in. Tim McMahon with us throughout the stretch run of the NBA playoffs. Let's go to college.